Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Man, that's what you was doing. You just wanted to go smoke weed with Joe and shit. I
couldn't
did
keep
that.
up with Snoop.
Oh,
Snoop
hell.
just keeps going.
Man, Snoop, he got a fucking professional bud roller. I think he's paying 40 grand a year or some shit.
Really?
I don't know how much, but I know it's a dude who 8 hours a day, he just bringing Snoop like 100 blunts in a bag. Here you go, Snoop.
He's the one dude that's exempt anywhere he goes. No one's gonna fuck with Snoop with weed.
He smoked weed at the White House. So, I mean, damn,
Did he really?
You know, yeah, he said he went in the bathroom and got down. I said, oh, man. You know, I said, yeah, you know, he blazed anywhere. You know, church, swimming pools. He inside the pool blazing, underwater.
He's got a card. You can just let him slide.
Yeah. Yeah. He's Snoop. You know, what you gonna say?
What are you gonna say?
What you gonna say, man? Everybody loves Snoop.
The same thing with Chappelle. When we go out with Dave just fire up in a restaurant.
Hey, man, you know. Gotta
Nobody
let
says
them know you in the
anything.
house.
Nobody says anything.
Yeah,
He
what
just
they
goes.
gonna say? I mean, who wants to be part of his next comedy special? The person that told Dave Chappelle you can't blaze in Ruth Chris. Nah, sorry. You know, nah.
Well, hey man, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. You want some coffee?
No, thanks for having me. You know, I probably had too much coffee. Yeah, today, you know what I mean? I probably had about 2 cups already, so I should be cool till this afternoon.
So I saw this video where you said you're doing just a podcast tour. You just
Yeah. I'm gonna hit everybody, you know, everybody that want to talk to me, you know what I'm saying? I just want to be able to get the message out to the people, talk to the people, you know. I've been trying to push my league, and mainstream sports media have really, you know, basically ignored me.
Why do you think that is?
Years. I think they're nervous about the NBA. They're nervous about their relationship with the NBA could be damaged if they promote the Big Three.
I would think it would help everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's basketball in the summer. You know, they got the WNBA, but we really don't play at the same time. You know, they got their games, we got our games. And you know what's crazy is we got their, you know, former Hall of Famers as a part of this league, and they wanted to be a part of this league. So it's not like we hijacking them or we, you know, kidnapping them. They want to be a part of this league. They want it to be successful, and they want to make money in the summer. So I don't know what the NBA is thinking about trying to deprive Dr. J and Rick Barry and Iceman, George Gervin, a little check in the summer. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would compete at all. It seems like it would enhance. It would make when you have more basketball for basketball. I mean, basketball fans, they have a season, and when it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
The fact that there's more basketball seems to me, but I'm a person that's like, I feel like there's enough pie for everybody with everything. I feel like that with fighting, with MMA. When there's a new organization comes out, I'm like, good. Give people more opportunity to make money.
Without a doubt, you know, and it's about who do it the best. And we're not trying to compete in any way, shape, or form with the NBA. We're very complimentary. So I don't understand why they would, you know, do some of the things that's being done behind the scenes.
They're like encouraging people to not do it?
Encouraging people to not sponsor us. I mean, like,
Really?
yeah, I mean, encouraging networks not to play us.
Really?
Yeah. Those things, we've been able to survive, but, you know, at a certain point, it's just redundant and ridiculous, and we got to fight back some way, shape, or form.
It just, in my mind, it seems silly. It seems like it would only enhance. But that's what happens when you get big corporations, man.
Yeah, and you know what, Joe? It's not the players. It's not the owners. It's not GMs or scouts, because they name a big owner who probably loves the league. And we've heard from a lot of
100% it's the
that they
commish. That's
love
what
the
he's
league, they would love to
insinuating.
invest.
Adam Silver, that motherfucker.
And
Fucking
the players
slime ball.
love the league. They come to the games. They play in the league when they're done with the NBA. GMs, scouts come sit next to me on the front row and be like, "Oh man," And they even pull some of our guys, put them in the G League. A couple of our guys made it all the way back to the NBA. 10-day contracts, things like that. So it's not the culture of the NBA. It's just the suits. It's the corporate people. You know what I mean? It's the brass. It's
Yo, what's up,
the
Kaido?
top guys that
What's up, Kaido? How you doing?
are scared of what we got.
Just scared of competition in general.
Do you?
Always.
Well,
Thanks,
they
man.
think they
That's
own
nice of you.
basketball.
That is
They
nice of you,
think,
dude.
Like, we own basketball. But
crazy?
it's nuts. It's fucking nuts. Because I don't hear kids running out saying, "Mom, I'm about to go play NBA."
Right.
No, they say, "Mom, I'm about to go play basketball with my friends."
He's so fucking
So
based, man.
basketball doesn't have an owner. And
What's up, Kaido? How you doing,
they
man?
are, I think, intimidated that we have changed the game. And we haven't changed it just to change it. We've changed it for the better, and we've changed it within our own version of the sport. So we're not trying to change 5-on-5. We're just trying to introduce 3-on-3 and elevate it to the professional level, which we have.
I only think that
Still warming up.
those suits are silly.
It is a good thing, man. They are silly. That's why I'm here, man. It's like it's time for these, suits to get out the way and, let the relationship flourish if it's going to flourish. And even if it don't, look, we're doing fine. In our 6th season, our ratings are growing. We did, 500,000 people on CBS this Sunday.
Thanks, Kaido.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Where'd this idea come from?
Me and my guy Jeff, we've been working together for over 25 years. Like everything in the last 25 years, we kind of been.
I get so tired as soon as I need to study.
So-
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We see Kobe
Oh, just because you ate, yeah.
score 60 points in his last game. Now, this idea had been brewing in me, but it was like,
That's true. Once you get
it's
started,
cool.
though,
I'm an entertainment guy. I'm in rap. I'm
start
in,
with something easy.
music and movies and television.
When you start with something easy,
that.
you get
So,
into the flow, and then your brain
It had
is
just been sitting there.
it's all
and
juiced up.
This dude hit 60 points in his last game.
I know what you mean,
and there's
man.
nowhere else you can see him play.
I got to study for my. I'm doing a project management professional exam on Monday. I haven't studied at all.
That sucks. It sucks that we cannot ever see Kobe Bryant playing a
Fuck.
professional basketball game again.
My notes. Go take the
There's
exam.
got to be
Yeah.
other guys that people want to see that
Sounds fancy. Yeah.
still
It's
got
like an
it.
international project
They
management
may not be able to play 82
professional
games.
certification.
You know what I mean? They may not
Costs
be able to play the
$500
back-to-backs and
For a lot of
3
jobs in
games
Canada are
in 4
asking for it.
nights, but
The more senior project
half
management
court
stuff.
3-on-3 to 50, they're gonna look like all stars. And so that's where the idea started to germinate. And
That makes
Bro.
sense too. That it's just the breakdown as you get older. You just can't do as many games. That makes sense.
yeah, I mean they still
AI
can
methods
play.
algorithms.
Like
Yo, what's up, Christian? How you doing, man?
if you put them out there one game,
AI methods algorithms.
give it all
damn,
you
dude.
got against the 20-year-olds, they'll do great.
That's awesome.
But if you have them play the next day, they just
I know a
can't
little bit of
recover
Markov
as
chain
fast as the
models
20-year-olds.
Yeah.
So they look like they
and Monte
can't
Carlo
play,
simulations.
the next day. So by having
Like
a week
Markov
off,
chain, they
you
use
get
a
the
lot
recovers
in
like football.
language
You get
prediction,
a
I
chance to let
think.
your body recover, heal.
Interesting, but not
So by the time that
doesn't
next weekend come around,
point. Suck me
you're
into it. I hear you.
100% ready, good to go. Let's do it.
Especially with the way guys train today.
You're ready for
The
your
older
trip.
guys
Cool, man.
train today, with the science.
Markov
of
chains
sports
2021.
nutrition,
What? That's
Yes.
wild.
science of recovery. They're just so much better.
Yeah, we use
They're
them
so much
in
better
ecology
than they've ever been before.
in terms
We
of
changed our
predictive
mind.
modeling
We got rid of this.
into the future. You can do it for anything, right? Yeah, they're pretty cool.
So stupid.
But it's like based on
That's the
past.
thing with older fighters too. They have a hard time getting through camps.
Yes.
It's
part
just
of
kind of
the
like
biggest fight,
extrapolation of
getting
existing
through it. People
multivariate
can't-
data into the future, which is probably
2
the best, one of the
days,
best predictors,
all the
assuming that conditions
sparring,
continue the same
too
into the
much,
future,
I
which
remember
usually isn't the case.
got to football.
But it's still pretty good. If you have like a set framework where things don't change, like a computer system,
Plexico bursts.
it's ideal. But if in the real
Plexico
world,
bursts.
there's a lot of variables.
The coaches hated it
in like
because
ecology and the biological
players
world.
hated it, you know, I
There's so many fucking
exaggerated,
variables.
But they didn't like the fact that he would not practice at all, come in the game on Sunday and score a touchdown. You know, it's like it
Yeah,
goes against
exactly.
everything that they preach. You have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice. Then you are conditioned to score the touchdown. But he's like, no, I got to recover, I got to recover, I got to recover. And then by Sunday, I can go out and score a
It's kind of you,
touchdown.
Christian. That's nice of you,
And
man.
that goes against coaches'
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
philosophy.
But he knew his own body.
Of course. And
Yeah.
and
In biology and ecology,
you know, we all know our own body to a
like
certain
Malcolm says,
You know,
nature
and I
will
think-
find a way.
extent. You should always save an athlete from himself, but you shouldn't push an athlete before he's ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always different for different people too. Some
Yes.
people recover quicker. It's just, you know, as athletes get older in particular, they get more and more wise to that. More and more wise to like how their body works.
We were having good runs yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, you know
Today we're not. I'll probably do
You
weightlifting.
know, I heard
later.
one player say that, man, they don't pay me to play in the game. Like, I'll do that for free. 70,000, 15,000.
Obsessed with the weight. Nice,
fans.
buddy.
Who wouldn't do that for free?
Nice, man.
They pay me to practice. They pay me to show up on time. They pay me to do all the stuff I don't want to do. And, you know, that makes sense. But sometimes you don't practice somebody just because you're paying.
Yeah. Well, the difference is like you can never do this when football players have done that kind of stuff because just the damage they take.
Some, you know, I think it depends on the style. You know, I think you could do,
You have to work.
you know,
Congratulations, man.
interesting flag version of football. I think you could sell it if it was, you know, thought about and really worked on to be, you know, pleasing to the fans.
How would you do that? Like, what would make? Because people love touchdowns, but they also love tackles. They love people getting hit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few ways to do it. You know, you could do pads.
Yeah, the
7
lake's
on
an
7,
amazing. That river's an amazing spot, man.
And kind of, you know, open the game up a little bit so it's not so many collisions coming from so many different angles.
Yeah.
Less people, more space, more skill set, not so brute, but a little
Thank you
bit.
so much for your interest
Could do it that way too.
and for being you.
Yeah, that could work. The flag one, I would think would be kind of tough.
It's tough because people
Damn it,
look
why
at
didn't I
flag
fucking reload?
as kind of like a side, you know, a byproduct of football, not real football.
Well, almost like football for kids.
Yeah, but they, you know, but guys that go out and play two-hand touch all day, you know.
Yes.
So maybe that's it. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting when fighters figure out ways to do that too, like what Floyd is doing. What Floyd is doing is so interesting. He retires from fighting and he says, "I'll just start boxing people who have no chance."
Hey, why not? You know, I mean, exhibition. Like we saw that in what is Rocky 3 or something?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I mean, he's like, he started doing exhibitions with Hulk Hogan. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
and got caught. I mean, he got hurt, like, you know, dealing with that. So, I mean, I think people want to see Floyd fight. You know, some people want to see him lose. You know, I never wanted to see Floyd lose. And so he'll always have some interest, you know, even if he's fighting, you know.
What he did is just complete genius.
Yes.
First of all, from just changing his style, right? He broke his hands a lot. So when he was younger, they called him Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
And then he changed his
Swear to
name
God,
Money.
Bunker One
And
essay
when he
helped my
changed his name
aim when
Money,
I-
he
when
turned
I-
heel.
Yeah.
He
When I came back to
like this guy
Aztec after
and
Bunker
everybody
One,
wanted to see him get beat.
I was shooting a
And
lot better.
He's the most unhittable guy in the history of the sport.
No, I'm not
Yes,
shooting very
sir.
well.
He's right up there with Pernell Whitaker. Like those are the two guys that I say are like the most elusive guys in modern, not past Willie Pep, in modern era. Pernell Whitaker and Floyd. Floyd's even more impressive because he stands right in front of guys.
He stands right in front of you and you can't hit
Right
him.
in front of you.
And you can't get a good one on him.
You can't get shit on him.
It's one of the most amazing
Come
skill
on,
sets.
you fucking idiot.
He's like a one of those like Minnesota Fats kind of pool players that know all the trick shots and you can't beat him. A guy that can play a hand or board game or ping pong.
Yeah.
You just can't beat him, and he's that way in boxing.
Yeah.
He just knows all the tricks of the trade, and he's just better.
He has way more information about where you should be where he can hit you and where he should be where you can't hit him. It's just he's got it all in his head.
He knows what punch can be thrown at what time and what punch can't. And so he just, when he knows you can't throw a punch, that's where he is.
Yeah.
And when he knows you can, that's where he ain't.
My favorite fight, I've had a lot of favorite fights, but one of my favorites was the Canelo fight. It was just a master class.
Yeah.
Master class. And just a young,
really
incredibly
fast.
promising champion, a guy who's going to be an all-time great, but not yet.
Not yet.
You're not ready for that guy.
Floyd always catch him young. he catch him coming
catch
up.
him young or old.
Yeah,
Like
he catch him young.
back,
And he tap you up and then he say thank
That's
you.
funny.
Yeah.
Next.
He did a smart thing, too. He got him to cut down.
Markov
150.
chain models.
Yeah.
Got him a little lighter, a little smaller, a little more dehydrated.
A little weaker.
Yeah, a little weaker, and then just box him up.
Yeah.
But if you see what it did to Canelo's game, like you see Canelo when he fought Danny Jacobs later on, he was moving like Floyd. Like he mirrored that.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with a master. And when you fight a master, or
That's what I felt. The downfall of
fight
AI
back
though
against
was
a master,
was
or
the
fight,
was
you spar
its
against a
ability
master,
to
you
only
better
project in the
take a few
future
tricks
based
of the
on the
trade.
current
Yeah.
information.
That's the whole
Had no way
thing
of really
about
creating a potential
respecting the game.
Daniel
realistic
Cormier
future.
always says
prediction.
you get the rub. Like when someone fights for the title, and you fight a world champion, you feel what that's like.
Right.
Like, okay. And you either get way better, or you kind of like realize I'll never beat that guy.
You'll never get that
Yeah.
level.
There was like a lot of, like during the Tyson era, nobody got the rub.
I gotta take
It's
the
like,
call.
you got in there and you were like, fuck this.
I mean, Tyson had you so many. He had so many psychological advantages.
Yes.
Everybody else, give me the pretty robe. Put this satin on the robe. I need to look. I had to have flares coming from my tassels. Have to be right. I got to look pretty coming in there. Floyd come in there gladiator style.
Yeah,
Towel
Mike had a towel over his head with a hole in it.
and no
No
socks
socks.
on. he ain't here for none of that. He just here to whoop your ass.
It was the best.
And he psychologically beat a lot of people before he even landed that fatal punch.
Oh, yeah. Even after the Buster Douglas fight, that didn't even take it away from him. A lot of times when a guy gets knocked out, like their aura of invincibility goes away, but with Mike, it was still there.
Yeah, because people are always scared of when you snap. Nobody want to deal with crazy. You know what I mean? Everybody could deal with everything, but, everybody get out the way of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Mike was screaming, I'll eat your children.
Man. Yeah.
Yo, this is the walkout. Look, he's just pushing everybody
Pushing
out of the
everybody
way.
out the way. Nobody even want to give him a dap because they don't know if he gonna knock them out on his way to the ring. Yeah, this is some of the G's shit ever.
Yeah, when
You
he
know what I
was the
mean?
champ.
Like just a towel, cut the towel in half, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I ain't got time for this shit. I'm ready to knock somebody the fuck out.
It was
Yeah.
a special time in boxing because there was a long time where the heavyweight champion, Larry Holmes didn't get his due because he beat up Muhammad Ali. So everybody was always mad at Larry.
Yeah.
And then when Mike Tyson came along, it was like all of a sudden there's like a real heavyweight champion where everybody wants to see him fight.
Yeah, he was my first experience of a guy who was just, the Incredible Hulk, like going and knock people out, 2 or 3 rounds, it's over. And, I grew up watching Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes and all the other fighters in between. I wasn't really, old enough to appreciate Joe Frazier or nothing like that. But when Tyson came around, he was like, "Oh, this is what you want in a fighter." That's why he was a superhero.
Yeah.
It was like, this is what you want. You want that attitude. Pretty fighters are okay, but you want a ferocious fighter.
Yeah, pretty fighters are fun to watch. Floyd's fun. Look, as a person who appreciates what Floyd can do, the way he expresses himself, it's genius. It's genius boxing. When, a lot of people want to know, like, who's the best ever. I feel like you go on who got hit the least, who won the most fights and who got hit the least. If you look at that, Floyd's at the top of the heap by far. Like, no one's even close.
Yeah, and count the money.
Yeah. And count the money. Yeah.
I gotta say he is the best.
But when you want to see like a destruction, the Mike Tyson fights were a completely different kind of an event.
Yeah, the thing is, I think people would love Floyd if he, had a little more pop on the punch. I mean, he can hit you and get you and pop you and drop you and back you up and do all those good stuff and make you look bad. And I think, he's just, people, fault him for not, when he hit it, it hurt.
Yeah, well, he always had hand problems. He had multiple hand breaks.
Yeah.
Which was very unfortunate. But that also probably contributed to how skillful he was, because he couldn't get guys out with one shot. So he had to just always be in the right spot, piece you up, hit and not get hit. Just the way he did it standing in front of people. It's just, I don't think folks understand how hard that is to do. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like magic. It's almost like magic. How, like you're standing there and you're saying, come with your best shot, and you can't get it, you can't land it. How? Why can't I land this shot? You know what I mean?
Everybody thinks they can too. That's what's interesting.
Yes.
Especially in this whole promo tour he's doing, where he's just running around doing these exhibitions. They all think, I could probably land a shot.
No.
He's 46.
Nah.
They're talking about him fighting Pacquiao. About them doing it again. I'd watch that.
Yeah. I mean, hell yeah.
Fuck
like,
yeah.
I don't think age should really keep you from checking out somebody who's a master.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if he's fighting someone his age.
Yeah, it's two masters going at it, and age is just a number. It's really just a number. It's not reality. Reality is how you feel. It's a saying: if you didn't know how old you were, would you know how old you are?
Some people would. It's an indicator of how well your body's functioning. It's a pretty good indicator, though. Like if you said someone wants a fight and they're 60, you go, 60?
Yeah.
60's too old.
Yeah, it's too old to see fast skills.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen an old man fight? It's pretty interesting,
yeah.
A couple of old dudes, I've seen on the internet a couple of old dudes get at it, and it's
still fun.
It's fun, one round get down. Yeah, it's like we got the 60-year-olds with the one round get down. We're gonna go as long as they can before they fall out.
You get fucked up as a 60-year-old though, you don't recover.
Yeah,
you get
that's
your ass
true.
kicked as a 60-year-old, you might be fucked for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
You're risking a lot.
Yeah, some people would do it though,
I've seen some guys that are young that got fucked up that were never the same. Young guys. It's the roughest way to make a dollar in sports. The roughest.
And UFC even take it to another notch because, somebody can kick your mouth open.
Kick your jaw open, knee you in the face, elbow you in the eye socket.
Yeah, or just, pull your shit out of socket.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's a rough game.
It is. It's a rough game, Tap out, baby. Tap out.
Yeah. It's just, but it's the most exciting thing to watch. Combat sports, to me, is just like, man, when you watch like a world title fight, There's very few things, whether it's boxing or MMA. Like when Terrence Crawford's gonna fight Errol Spence.
Yeah.
That fight is going to be crazy.
Yeah, man.
That is a crazy moment where you got two undefeated champions in their prime.
Yes.
And no one knows what's gonna happen. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, sometimes those fights, they're just too skilled. You know, have you ever seen guys just fight? They're too skilled and they're just both missing because they can't hit each other because they both got the skills. You know, so.
And they don't want to take too many chances and open up.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not one of them. You know, hopefully it's one of those. They take it personal from the first couple of rounds and.
I can't imagine. Terrence Crawford's never been in a boring fight ever. Neither is Earl Spence. I think they're going to go after each other.
Well, they know how to tattoo their opponent, so I can imagine them just tattooing each other, you know, back and forth.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Terrence, what stance he uses too. Because he, in my opinion, he's the best switch hitter since Marvin Hagler. Nobody switches like Terrence.
Yeah.
Terrence just... he's southpaw, then he's orthodox, and is just as good from both sides. And you gotta like do all this calculating in the middle of the fight and switch it up. Everything's coming from a different angle now.
Yeah, your brain is not moving as fast as it should be.
That's such a big.
The body
advantage.
can't move that fast if your brain is
right. You have to think.
thinking so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be instincts. But yeah, it's gonna be an amazing fight. And you know, I'm worried a little bit about Earl. You know, he's been in car accidents. Was it one?
Yeah,
It was one.
the Ferrari. That's a crazy car accident.
man.
He could have died in that 100%. If he didn't have a seatbelt, or he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but if he was wearing a seatbelt, he might be dead.
If he was,
Yeah, he got thrown from the Ferrari. He was in a convertible. Have you seen it?
no, I seen the car.
Have you seen the video?
I haven't seen the video.
Oh shit! Watch this. This video is crazy. Here it goes.
Wow.
Yeah. So he got thrown out of the car, and that's how he survived.
I didn't
So
know
look
it
at
was
this.
like that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Dude, 100% could have been dead.
Yes.
100%. That was a terrible accident.
It's hard to say that you 100%.
I mean, he rolled like 5, 6, 7 times. Look at that car.
If he wasn't a master athlete, could he have survived that?
And who knows what happened to him when he survived, right? Like, did he hit his head? Did he hit his neck? Like, what is he okay? Like, is he 100%? Or is he always going to be a little fuck from that? There's another angle.
Wow.
Jesus. Oh my God.
That's one of the most horrific ones I've seen.
But he was okay.
That's good.
Amazing.
Thank God.
Amazing. Because like a talent like that, take that guy at a young age would be so horrible.
Yes. Yes. It would be devastating.
They give these dudes money and you could just go buy one of those cars. It's kind of crazy. You could just go buy a 700 horsepower car. You don't even know how to drive.
Yeah.
You just have money.
Yeah, I know. I used to, there was a trip because I remember being at the studio, Echo Sound one time, and Tupac came, he pulled up in a Benz. Like, oh man, Pac, you got your things? He's like, yep, I don't have my license, man. I hope I don't wreck it. I'm like, damn, man, park that car, man. You don't know how to drive it? He's like, nah, man, I've been in New York, man, for so long. Don't worry about driving. I'm like, oh, you know, I think he did wreck it a few times, you know what I'm saying, before it was all said and done.
Learning how to drive first cars with Benz.
It's Benz, you know, it's like 500.
What was the first thing you bought when you started making money?
Oh man, the first thing I bought,
Like the first car.
oh man, I bought a Honda Accord. I bought a Honda Accord, you know. They had just come out with a new model. It was about 20 G's. And I was like, you know, I'm sick of rolling around here. And, you know, at first I had like a Sidekick, you know, a Suzuki Sidekick.
Oh,
Suzuki
no.
made cars.
I remember those.
Sidekick, and I was like, man, I need some luxury. You know what I mean? I'm starting to make money. You know, let's go down here and get this Honda Accord. Kim, she's my wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time, so we went down there. Place on, I think it was La Cienega. They had a Honda spot, and I just went in there and bought a black Honda Accord. Cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty reasonable car. Like you didn't go crazy.
I only had 20 G's, so if I'd have had 40, I'd have bought, probably a BMW, a 3 Series or something. So, at the time, it was the first cool thing I was able to buy and not sweat it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the key, is to buy it and not sweat it.
Right. Yeah.
If you're buying it and you're sweating it still, you're like, damn. I remember one day, Dre and Yella, they got checks. I think they got checks for like $35,000. Next thing I seen them, they both had vets, I think, Corvettes. And I was like, how much you pay? 31. How much you pay for yours? 33. I'm like, y'all broke now. So what? We look good.
It's funny, but that's the temptation,
Yeah, I mean, you only live once, and we know a lot of people that die young, and so it's kind of like, get it while the getting is good.
Yeah. It's also you're young. When you're young, when I first started making money, my manager thought I had a gambling problem.
Yes.
He called me up and said, are you having a gambling problem? Because he knew how much money I was burning through. I go, no, man, I'm eating lobster every night. Like, I grew up poor.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm eating steak and lobster. I'm taking my friends out. I'm like, I'm spending money.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do, and it feels good.
Yeah, it feels good.
It feels good to finally be able to treat and not, worry about what it's going to look like.
That's the big thing, is the worry. I remember the first check I got a check from Disney for a development deal from Disney in like 1993. And when I got the check, it was like weight lifted off my shoulders. It was like,
Yes.
whew. Like I could look at my bank account. I go, I got money in the bank account.
Yeah.
I can pay the bills. I don't have to think about the bills right now. And it was like I was lighter. Like,
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it does weigh on you when you can't, when you don't know exactly where the money's going to come from. The bill's here. When you got to pay it, but you really don't know exactly how it's all going to come together. You hope the universe bless you with an opportunity.
yeah.
And so to not have that worry, it is a weight lifted off. And I wish more people could feel the weight lifted off. But there's another thing. The more you make, the more you spend. So sometimes the weight comes back.
The weight
comes
definitely
back
comes
on.
back.
You know what I mean? The weight comes back on.
And then you have employees. And that's another weight. That's a
Yeah.
different weight. That's like you think about other people's families.
Yes.
You're making money for them too.
Yeah. You really, that's why I don't do nothing crazy. I'm not skydiving, nothing like that. I'm definitely not going down in no damn submarine.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Titanic. I don't take those crazy chances because, I got generations depending on me.
Yeah.
And so, got to take that responsibility serious because you never know when others in my family, bloodline, or whatever are going to be able to
Come on, man.
have the opportunities that I have. Even though my son, O'Shea Jr., he's working constantly. He's in Spain right now.
Yeah, he is. That's That's amazing that he's carrying on. That's beautiful.
It is.
That must make you very proud.
Man, it's like the best. One guy asked me, how does it feel seeing your son, straight out of Compton and does so well? I said, it's like winning the Super Bowl on a team and then your son comes and win the Super Bowl for that same team. That's the feeling. I don't know if anybody has ever had that feeling, but it seems like that's how I feel. It's like I won with NWA and he won with NWA.
That's amazing. And what a perfect person to play. Who would be better to play you? It's
Exactly.
Perfect. It's perfect.
I mean, before he, decided to take the movie, I would take him on tour with me, and we was doing that anyway. He would jump on stage, he would do Dope Man, and, I'm like, this is my son, and I'm like, man, got that swagger up here. You know what I mean? Remind me of a young me. Okay, so when it was time to do the movie, when it was really a go, I went to him and I said, hey man, this NWA movie looked like it's gonna go. He was like, cool man, that's good, good luck man, that's great. I'm like, hold on. I said, I want you to play me. He was like,
Brutal. I'm terrible.
okay.
I'm so bad.
That was too easy. You know what I mean? That was like, he was like, okay. And he just kept on walking. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I said, I got to see if he's serious or he's just, saying okay, just to say okay, but it's a hell of a lot of work. So I started putting him through the ringer a little bit. I was like, hey man, we got an acting coach for you. LA, you need to go down there on Thursday. You need to be there at this time and that. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh, all right. And he would go, and I'm like, okay, he's starting to go, but is he just going? Is he participating? Is he into it? Boom. So I said, I'm gonna try something else. I sent him to New York to a guy for training, acting. I'm like, I'm send him all the way to New York and see if he'll do that. Because that's when he'll bail. Be like, I got something to do. So he got on the plane, flew to New York, worked with this cat, flew back. Now when he flew back, I was checking him out, seeing what he was doing. We was far from actually casting a movie at that time. And then he was like, he came up, he was like, I'm gonna go work with my coach today. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, me and my acting coach, we're gonna get together, we're gonna do a couple of things. So I'm like, he's into it. Yeah. So then I let him do that. So now I have to approach Gary Gray. Now Gary Gray is the director of Straight Outta Compton. He also directed Friday, and he directed It Was a Good Day. These are some of my biggest projects. And when I told him, he was like, yeah, man, it's cool, He was thinking about who we gonna get to play him. I said, okay, guess who I want to play Ice Cube? He was like, who? I said, my son. He was like, Dude. What the fuck, man? I thought we was making a real movie, man. I said, motherfucker, we are making a real movie. What you talking about? I said, he's gonna be great.
Gave me the slow pause.
He's gonna be great if you get the part. He'll have to audition, and Universal will sign off on him. But you're gonna work with him, just like John Singleton worked with me. You know what I mean? John put me in Boys in the Hood. I didn't act. I wasn't no actor. I was just a rapper, and he saw something in me, put me in the movie, and he helped me through it. And the rest is history. And you're gonna do the same thing. So, make a long story short, it's audition time, screen test time. Now, my son go in there, and he said he got pissed off because there's 5 other fucking Ice Cubes there to audition. He's like, these dudes think they're about to take this. He said, man, I felt like I had the family name on my back. I had to go in there and house this shit.
Just so dumb.
And he said, when he left the screen test, Donna Langley from Universal called me, and it was like, your son was great. He was actually the best one, and we're gonna sign off on it. Wow. Yeah. It's cool. Cool story.
That's a great story. It's a great story the way you made him do it, too. That's so smart.
He worked harder than any of the other actors, like 2 years of grinding, because, the coach's son always, he get it the worst.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Course. Yeah.
And it was no different on this movie.
Of course.
I had to make sure that he won, and he set up himself for a career.
Okay, bitch.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Your career, what's one of the things that's so fascinating about your career is there was never anyone like you before that did what you did. You went from gangster rap to like family movies.
Yeah.
Like no one's ever done that. And then sports entertainment. Like you've branched out into so many things, but the key part of it that people need to understand today is when you guys came out, when NWA came out, the whole world went, what the fuck?
Yes.
The whole world. I remember I was in Revere, Massachusetts. I was on an elliptical machine at the gym. And a friend of mine told me, you gotta listen to this shit. And I had a cassette Walkman. Yeah. So I'm there with a cassette Walkman on the elliptical machine, listening to Straight Outta Compton, going, holy shit. Like, this is wild. There was nothing like that before that. And I remember, like, laughing while I was riding the elliptical. I'm like, these guys are out of their fucking minds. This is crazy. And then there was, like, the Tipper Gore shit where Al Gore's wife was trying to censor rap music.
The PMRC, Parents Resources Against Music Council or something like that.
Ugh.
And
that was the Democrats, folks.
that's the reason you have an advisory sticker on the record, because that was the compromise. They were saying, you know, I sent my daughter to the record store to buy a record. She came home with the fucking 2 Live Crew. I didn't know this shit was gonna be like this. You know, so, you know, the compromise from the record industry was, we'll put a parental advisory sticker
So
on
dumb.
the record so if a parent was buying a record for
what's up?
Christmas, you know, they parents
What's up,
was
Eva?
like, I want
What's
Too
going well? How
Short.
about you?
You know what I mean? They go buy the Too Short record, put
Or
it
your
in,
Eva?
and they like, what the hell? So
Iva.
we were the first group
It's going well. How
to
about
put
you?
that sticker on our records. We were the very first group because Priority Records designed that parental.
Good luck. Thank you. That's
advisory
nice.
sticker.
Nice of you.
And that sticker.
It's very nice of you.
And it was actually, it had to be stuck on the record like a
need it.
sticker. And they had to go through all our records in every record store and put the stick on them. So the next time we did artwork,
Oh, Iva's
we
bringing
just
the luck.
planted it in
It's
the
really
artwork.
fast.
And then kids wouldn't buy
That's
your
really
shit
good.
if
Come
it
on.
didn't have the sticker. It's like
what?
people was putting the sticker on clean records.
That's
You know?
hilarious.
It's like a clean record, not 1 ounce of profanity on it, but they was putting the parental advisory because kids was looking at it and it was like, where's the sticker? No sticker.
fine.
That's hilarious. The
not very
opposite
good, but
effect.
it's fine.
It promotes it.
Yes,
The pause will be
that's
fast.
Exactly what happened. It promoted it.
You gotta run.
2 Live Crew was the first band that got arrested, though, right? Weren't they the first band that got arrested?
On stage, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You know, rap got a long history. You know, I don't know if somebody, you know, tackled, you know, Kool Herc or somebody one day.
right.
But that's the one that went, you know, nationwide news. And yeah, he got arrested. Yeah, Luke fought for all of our freedom of speech. To be honest, you know, if they would have took Luke down, and the 2 Live Crew at the time, he said that
I didn't have enough
music's
health
too
anyways.
obscene, you can't sell stuff like this. You know, everything would probably be so, you know, sterile right now. You know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, that's the same thing with Howard Stern and radio.
Yes.
You know, they went after Howard. They find them insane amounts of money for the Howard Stern show.
Yes,
And
I
if he-
remember.
And if he just folded
All right, one
and
sec, one
gave
sec,
into
one sec.
that, there'd probably be no podcasts, or it would have taken a lot longer for people
Exactly.
to figure this out.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible when you stand up at the moment of truth, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's important for us to stand up at the time that is going on and not back down and then try to regroup
Yeah.
and then go at it. You know, it's really important
It is,
for people to stand up for themselves.
but it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard today more than ever because you get so much pressure. People, like, especially during COVID, people ganged up on people. People were doing the man's work for the man. It's like,
Yeah.
who the fuck are you trusting? Like, why are you trusting these people that have been lying forever?
Yeah, man. It was wild during that time. Like, you know, people being bullied into doing things that they didn't want to do. A lot of them didn't want to do it. They did it because of their work or their,
Yeah.
you know, their
And a lot
situations. Or a lot of them are hurting right now. You know,
Yeah.
I know a guy that's, you know, been dealing with tinnitus since he got it, and so
I
you know,
a lot.
Thank you, Eva.
Yeah,
Eva.
quite a few people that got fucked up. Some of them pretty bad. It's just, it was just, if you wanted to do it in a textbook way, like if it was a conspiracy, that's how I would do it. I'd isolate people, make them stay at home, take away their livelihood, make them scared, give them small checks, you know, and then give them this thing that you got to take to get back to normal. Want to get back to normal?
yeah.
Go take that. Don't worry, safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. And then you have all this pressure, and everyone is yelling at you if you don't do it. If you don't do it, we're not going to get back to normal. And everybody got scared, and everybody just stepped in line. It was strange. It's strange.
Yeah, it was. You know, stepping in line sometimes is not the way to go.
No, it's not always the way to go.
It's, you know, you're trying to try to make things all smooth and easy and no issues and back to normal and all that. And the world might be back to normal, but are you normal?
Well, you got to be able to make informed decisions.
Yes.
And when you can't make an informed decision and you're being pressured anyway, it's like, what do you, how long? And this is the thing that was driving me crazy. Before the election, when Donald Trump was president, all they were talking about is, I'm not going to take the shot. You're going to take a shot that Trump made? Who's going to take that shot? Even Biden was saying it. Well, who's going to take it? Kamala Harris is saying it. They were all saying it. Don't take that. I would never take that. And then all of a sudden Biden becomes president, and they're like, you got to take it. Like, is this the same thing?
Fucking
This is the same thing. You know how long it takes to develop a vaccine? This is the same vaccine.
Same one.
You guys were just talking shit.
And, you know, no matter who tried to give it to you at the end of the day, it wasn't ready. It's not ready. You know, 6 months to try to turn this thing into something effective that was totally, you know...
Experimental.
Totally experimental. And everybody who took it was basically signing up to take an experimental drug. And I'm not anti-vax. I've been vaxxed before. Like,
Me too.
I've had vaccines.
How about all of them?
And
Everyone I was supposed to get.
Exactly. But those have been, some been around 80 years, some been around 50, 40. And I just wasn't comfortable after 6 months.
I was ready to take it. The UFC allocated 150 vaccines, I think, for all their employees. And this was when we were doing shows during the lockdowns.
Yeah.
So we'd go, there was a COVID bubble, you get tested the day of the event. And I was there, and they said, oh, we got the vaccines, you want to take it? I said, yeah. So I called up the doctor. I said, hey, man, can I take it? And they said, yeah, hold on, we'll set it up. I was going to take it, like, before the show. I thought it was just like a flu shot. Give me that thing. It's normal, right? And they call me up, and they say, no, we can't do it until Monday. It has to be done at the clinic. Can you go on Monday? I said, I can't. I go, but I'll be back for another event in 2 weeks. Said, okay, we'll do it then. During that time, it got pulled. During the time, it got pulled for blood clots, and 2 guys I knew had strokes.
Wow.
2 guys I knew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, what is going on? And then my friend got it and got over it quick. And I was like, what's going on? My real estate lady had it, and she didn't even have any symptoms. She tested positive twice. And she's like, well, I got to isolate, but I feel fine. And then I was like, well, what is this? Is this a death sentence, or is this like, how many people are asymptomatic? And you find out like 65% of the people are asymptomatic. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then I knew some people that got it and got real sick, but they were fat, or they were out of shape, or they had other problems. Then I knew a few friends that were real healthy that got it. They got wrecked because they didn't take it seriously and they kept working out. So there was a lot of confusion.
Yes.
And you know, it was a lot of fear.
Please.
But when I finally
Please.
got it and I got over it quick, and then they said I had to be for taking horse medication, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Shouldn't you be more interested in the fact that this deadly disease hit this 55-year-old dude and he was better in 3 days. Isn't that more interesting? Like, why don't you ask what I took?
Yeah.
Like, why did I get better? What is it? Yeah, I wasn't vaccinated. Yeah, I wasn't vaccinated, but I got over it quick. So what's wrong with that? In any other fucking rational, sane world, when there's a disease and someone goes to a doctor and gets medication for that disease and gets better in 3 days, you go, oh, well, that's a way to get better from that disease.
Yes.
It's not that this is one singular thing that you have to do that I can't even do now because I already have antibodies. Like, this is stupid.
It's crazy. And, you know, the thing is when money is the driving force, and, you know, I don't know if they can even get money off of what you took. You know what I mean? It seems like something that's been around for a long time.
But that's just one of the things I took.
And there's no money in it.
Right.
No new money in it.
Yeah,
So-
zero money in it.
So that's really what it's all about. You know, it's not about if it worked or if it's effective. It's about they can't make no money off of it, and we got this new stuff that we can make billions. So that's where the pressure comes from, and that's why they pushing it. That's why you have to think for yourself, because money is driving these people to give you bad advice or give you the wrong advice or to hide you know, solutions and cures and remedies from you. And you know, you gotta, once you peep that out, you have to take a step back and make sure that you're following the money to make sure it's not
It's just so hard
take
to
you
do
down.
in the
Yeah.
middle of a pandemic. That's why it was so hard, because everybody was just like locked in their house and scared. Especially in California. The attitude in California was so much different than the attitude here. We came to Texas, I'm like, nobody has a fucking mask on. This is crazy. They were
Yeah.
just out normal.
Yeah, Cali, they went crazy with it. You know, I was using the mask really as a disguise. So I finally walked through here and nobody asked for a selfie. You know what I mean? Cool. So, you know, I kind of I got the mask in my pocket for that too. You know what I mean? Pop it on,
That's
go
a
to the
good move.
airport. It's just a disguise now.
Yeah. Well, finally, you can wear a mask.
Yeah.
Any other time, and
That's what I tripped off too. I was like, they letting all these people stand around in these stores, walking through these stores with their face covered. You know?
yeah, and banks.
Yeah, exactly. When is a guy just gonna pull out a pistol? They be like, I don't know. They all had masks. We don't know who it was. It was a mask. Who's that masked man?
Well, it's happening so often in New York City. They made people take their masks down when they went into stores. They made that a rule, so that the camera can get a shot of your face.
Lord.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I'm supposed to keep this on to protect everybody.
Well, and then they found out real early that it didn't even work. They knew early that those things were bullshit. But it was a thing that would get you to comply with.
Yeah.
And it's also, you did it so you didn't feel like an asshole. If everybody had a mask on, you didn't, you felt like an asshole. It's like, I put a mask on.
Yeah, and you know, people were looking at you like you're the one spreading all the COVID around here. Huh?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I knew a guy got sick wearing the mask. Like, he had this cloth mask that he just felt it was the thing that was gonna protect him. I'm like, dude, you're breathing in. Like, wash that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You breathing that. I don't know what you breathe. You breathing in last week's, you know.
Bad breath.
Yeah, fat burger. Like, dude.
No,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? Take that off your face.
I will never
you
forgive
wouldn't want
the
that on the
maskers.
Right? You know, a dirty ass rag.
Me
over a
taking
cut.
me taking the subway in
Right
Miami
in your bloodstream. Yeah.
You smoking
in
weed.
2022
Take it off.
Yeah.
with an
it was
officer
just
with a gun on his
a
hip,
weird time. I saw that
talking to me,
you'd have to
forcing
pass
me
out
to
a
wear a
movie
mask.
before you get shot.
or these fucking
Yeah.
homeless people
You know,
are on the
they,
fucking
Strangest thing, you know.
yeah, like fuck you,
Say we're doing a
motherfuckers.
movie,
Like I'm so bitter. There was also me getting fired from the University of Miami for not wearing a mask in February of 2022, and then the next
all
week
the producers
they removed the mask mandate.
in Hollywood.
And then I said, "Hey,
decided
can I return?" And they said no. They said
They
we
don't
canceled
want
the
anybody
project,
on their movie set
but it's okay. I don't
that
want
happened.
to be there,
And what
so it's
year was
okay.
this?
This is
But it's just
2020.
funny that they had to.
Yeah.
They had to, yeah, dude.
I mean, we're
Dude.
coming out of it.
They would rather
21
astroturf
and,
their
you know, okay,
scientific
things went
fucking
right,
shit
but
than admit
the-
that they were
the-
wrong.
I believe the
You
news
know what I
came
mean?
out
That's like the liberal mind
during
to a fucking
2020.
T. They would
And
rather
so,
fucking die.
You know, I never thought it
They would
was a
rather
producer's
fucking pass away
mandate.
themselves.
You know, I thought it was a studio mandate.
It's retarded.
But I think the studio
Not that I want them
really
to, but like, Jesus Christ, man.
wanted to have, you know, kind of
It's
a little
insane.
out, so they put it on.
I even apologized.
This
I'm
is
like,
not
I'm
us,
sorry
this is-
for all this shit.
This
Can I
production,
like
that
come back
production,
and do
this
the fucking
production,
work?
that
I didn't say it like that.
production. It's every production.
And they're like, oh,
So
we
you
actually
tell me
decided not to
every
do the work
producer
anymore.
in Hollywood has this mandate. Give me a break. It has
It's
to come
fine.
from the
I would have been there
studio to
today,
every producer,
as of
'cause every
today
producer
still.
don't think the same. Like,
Right.
some producers, you know,
Like today,
had
I
their
would
own
still be in
different
that
opinions.
shitty
So
lab
anyway,
with shitty
it was
people,
a
so
studio
it's fine.
mandate. They put it on individual producers. So
But just the fucking officers with the gun on the hip,
Producers
like,
talking
fuck
to
you,
my
you
people,
stupid motherfuckers. Do
and
you
they're
do
like,
this to all
if
the
you
pretty
don't take
ladies
it,
on the
you
fucking
know,
train too, you
you
fucking
can't,
retards?
It's not
Fuck
taking
you,
it. It's
cop.
not taking it.
Fucking
Like, okay,
dog
can't do
bot
it.
pig
Okay,
motherfucker.
no problem.
You
Now,
young,
I didn't go out
you young
telling
man,
everybody what
fucking
happened.
loser.
I
You
didn't
fucking young, strong, able man
put
who's
the
a
word
fucking
out that
little
I didn't even
bitch.
tell people that I wasn't vaccinated. I didn't tell people
People
not
fucking
to go
dying
get
on the
vaccinated.
platform.
I didn't tell people that I'm not
Like,
doing this
literally?
because I'm
It's insane, man.
but somehow, some way, the news hit the, you know, I don't know if Hollywood Reporter or somebody put it out that this is why Cube is not doing the movie. And I thought it was chicken shit. Thought it was, you know,
Oh my god.
what happened to the HIPAA laws, you know, or OSHA, one of them, I forgot, I think it's HIPAA, you know, where you're not supposed to reveal a person's medical status. And here it is, they print mine. And so I just thought it was bullshit. And it just
It's
kind of
insane.
snowballed, you know.
The
Like,
extent to which people want
what they
to
want is
feel
for people
better
to
than
tell
other
me I'm
people.
stupid.
It's
You know what I mean?
insane.
They want people to
Like,
tell
why?
me, you turning down $9
Wearing a
million
mask does not make you a better
stupid.
person.
You know, I'll do anything for $9 million. How stupid can Cube be? And I don't care about that. You know, it's like I didn't lose
Having
$9 million because I never had it. Like, if you never have some shit, you can't lose it. Okay? You lose it when it's in your bank account, then you look up and it's gone. You know what I'm saying? But if you never had it, I didn't lose it. It just was never given to me. And so, you know, they tried to, you know, put my business in the street, put pressure on me, everybody around me telling me how stupid I am so I can go get vaxxed and say, you know, please let me do the movie. You know, that was never going to happen.
Someone
I don't
making
care
it,
if it
man.
was
Thanks for
20
making it.
million. That was never going to happen.
From the other side of the world, it's epic.
Damn right.
Damn right.
Hey.
Damn right. There's a lot of people out there that wish that they weren't forced into making that decision. And that's where the real lawsuits are going to come from. The real lawsuits, since you can't sue the vaccine companies, they're going to start suing these businesses, and they're already lining up.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. It was a gigantic error.
And they're, you know, they fired a lot of people. You know, I think they fired a lot of
They fired a lot of
cops in New York.
Yeah.
And they had to hire them back,
And give them back pay.
give them back pay.
Can you
But
imagine
what about the ones
astroturfing
that
their
were
scientific
injured that took the vax?
laboratory and
You know,
career?
they gotta have some.
I'm not
kind
saying
of
I'm the friggin'-
repercussion because, you know, they
I'm not
just
saying I'm bringing them to
proved
the
it.
promised land, but
They
it was a
just kinda
pretty
told
big
on
project
themselves that we got this wrong.
at a pretty senior level in the
Nobody wants to
lab.
talk about it. That's the crazy.
It's just so
thing, 'cause all the
insane.
news
Nobody
stories-
can.
Yeah.
You know, that's
It
what
was
I'm
really,
talking
really
about. the
niche
gatekeepers.
skill set.
Nobody can talk about it
It's
because
insane.
somebody above them told them no. From this
fine.
outlet, that outlet. You know, the NBA, going back to that, you know, I'm just kind of putting it in perspective, but the
Why do you
guys
got to
in the
use
NBA
biology,
talk-
biology and
Go back
chemistry,
to year one, all the
ecology?
time.
I'm like
And then they
my
just
main
stop,
passion is
and then I
forest,
my
ecology,
guy,
tropical
you know,
forest ecology. Thanks,
what
thanks,
happened?
man.
Why y'all stop?
It's my passion, I guess. Ecosystem change
Mention
through time with land use, climate change
So,
through time, through the
come on,
past
just chicken
10,000
shit.
years.
You know, that's that
The
bullshit
Holocene,
that
we
I'm
looked at
talking about.
pollen records.
That, you know, I'm talking
In
about what happened
bogs,
to
you can
me,
take.
but it
So
obviously
publicly
happens
available
everywhere
data,
to all
they
of
take
us.
these cores in these
You know what I
bogs.
mean?
I used about
you
300
gotta
cores in one of my
somehow, some way
analyses
get these people out
across
of our
North
way.
and South America
Or
at different elevations and altitudes,
not
and
support what they're
finding
doing and producing.
over the past 10,000 years.
You know, some of these
One of the things we
mainstream
found
outlets
was
are really just an
the Eastern
extension
Amazon
of these corporate conglomerates
has
who
been like turned
wanna,
desert
kind of
a little bit,
control
to
our
increased
emotions,
aridity.
control our movement, control
and it's a
our
major desertification threat,
spinning, control
especially
our
with current land use,
personalities, control our
like
mind.
clear cutting of the Amazon and shit. And the fear it could turn
and,
to like the next Sahara or
you know,
some
what we
shit.
gonna do about
Because
it,
northeast
like, at
Brazil
the end
is
of the day?
already
You know
a
what I'm
dry
saying? Like, just
ecosystem.
sit here
Caatinga and
let it happen day after day.
Cerrado,
till
Cerrado
we're
in Brazil.
steamrolled
Those are like the
and
Brazilian savannas, the
and,
dry savannas.
wore out and have no fight in us.
And you're seeing
Or
it
we gonna stand up where
in
we
southern Brazil
can,
too.
you know what I mean, and push back.
Fuck
when
off.
We can. I know everybody can't in all situations.
All the way to
and
central
don't feel bad
Brazil.
when you can't. But when you can and you know you can, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Like when you have the leverage, take it.
Oh my god.
You
Yeah.
know?
Thanks,
Take it.
man.
Like UFC, when you got the
Yeah, so
leverage,
I
you
did.
gotta go.
Yeah.
Use that
Yeah, man.
to your advantage.
How
You
do we
might
get on
not
this
always
topic?
have the leverage. You might not always have,
Oh yeah.
you know, the right
thing.
timing.
So it was a
But
a
when you
project
do, when you
in.
can, we gotta. We
It
gotta
was a.
buck back.
It was actually a really good
Um,
study
if
system
not, we're just gonna
in
continue to get
Central
steamrolled
Florida,
and not be heard.
and it was a
canceled,
dry.
all this kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah, we're just
Shrubland.
repeating patterns that have played out throughout history.
Yes.
And
People get power, they want to have ultimate power, they want more power.
there's this like
the
paradox that really
obstructions they
resource
see to
poor
their
areas
goals,
have really high
any
diversity.
Things that people were doing that would get in the way, they want to silence that, stop that.
Tropical forest
They
soils are
wanna
actually very
bust
nutrient
unions, they
poor
wanna
in
do whatever
terms
the fuck
of
they can to
like
consolidate
phosphorus
their
and other
power.
nutrients,
and it's
and
at a certain point, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And,
nitrogen
was
uptake
not
is
good for
rapid.
these are
us.
some of the most unhappy.
Very
people
diverse,
in the
but what's
world.
more interesting is the
It's just
dry
concerned with more and more
savannas,
power
which are
and
extremely
they're
diverse,
powerful.
like in southwestern
When
Australia.
have you saw a guy who was
The
maxing out,
Kwanghan in Perth,
bench
around
pressing
Perth.
or whatever, blew out his shoulder?
It's
Like,
extremely high diversity.
it's like you was
So
maxed out.
it was
the last time
we were
you maxed out.
testing.
Why are you trying to max out even more and more and more and more?
It was like a facilitation
See what I'm saying? So at a
experiment.
certain point, you got to know when you got to know.
It was a facilitation competition experiment, but we would be able to
The money
quantify
people,
it
though, they never think that way.
really
because it's
precisely
all
and be able to
about
answer
Like the whole thing is numbers. It's not like, look, I put out a new album. Look, I put
How
out a new movie.
facilitation
I'm creating a thing. I'm putting together stuff. For them,
can
it's
work
always
because we're looking at the
numbers.
all
the
numbers.
It's just
microbial
numbers. So you never
diversity.
feel satisfied. And there's always a guy with a bigger jet. There's always a guy with a bigger house. There's always a guy
Ads,
with more of
sorry,
this,
yes.
more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and usually, you know, you can find happier people with way less.
Way less. Yes.
Way less.
Yeah, if your goal is happy, that is not the occupation you should be in. That's not.
No.
Yeah, those people are miserable.
Yeah, and they're always chasing, and they're never satisfied. You know, that to me is torture in itself.
Well, it's also stupid. And if you're running a corporation, it's actually your obligation. Your obligation to your shareholders to continue to make as much money as possible. So you're trapped in a system that obligates you to behave and think that way. And if you don't, you won't be competitive.
Yeah, it's an ugly game, you know, and I don't see where people are being thought about in these type of situations. You know, it's
No.
all about, you know, capital don't care.
Yeah.
Capital has no emotions. Capital only respects capital.
Yeah, the only time it respects people's opinions is when people boycott shit and it works, like this Bud Light thing.
Yeah,
Ah,
Then-
thanks,
and now
man.
people are
Thanks,
like,
dude. I
don't
appreciate
do
it,
that
dude.
again.
yeah.
Like, be careful. Because look what
Yeah.
happened to Bud Light.
Well, who controls Bud Light? That's the question. Why would they make a dumb decision like that? Are they trying to ruin Bud Light? And why would they want to ruin Bud Light? Are they trying to take down some of our most iconic American brands? And why would that help?
I don't think they were trying to. I don't think they had any idea this was going to happen. It's this ESG thing that everybody has to dedicate a certain amount of their time to, woke stuff.
Who mandates that?
It's a good question. Where does the ESG money come from? Is that government? Like, where does that come from? And they have scores, and the ESG score of your corporation determines what you get. And the problem is also you get these people that are coming out of college, like this lady who made the decision for Bud Light. She's gone through the university system, she's in the corporate system, and she's a woman, and she thinks, we have to be more inclusive, and that's all the language everyone's using today.
Yeah.
And so they don't know any real people. They don't know regular people. They have no idea that if you take a brand, Bud Light, which is like known for, blue-collar drinking people, that they like to fucking watch football and drink Bud Light, then all of a sudden you have this mentally ill person who's just an attention whore. And you make a big deal out of putting this person 365 days of womanhood. You put that on a Bud Light can.
Oh
and they
wow,
freak
I
the
do
fuck
not
out.
agree with
And then
the
Kid Rock
words
shoots
that
a
are
bunch of
being
them, and
said
then
on
it's
this
on.
podcast.
Once Kid
I
Rock
wouldn't
shoots
call
your
someone
cans,
mentally
you got real
ill.
problems.
Yeah.
I do
pretty
not agree
sure
with
you do.
what is being said on this podcast. Holy
Yeah,
moly.
man. It's kind of like, I think you
Insane.
gotta still ask.
That was really crazy.
Like,
That was
Do
really
you think there's like
anti-
a conspiracy?
Well,
that was crazy.
who's
I do
getting
not
hurt?
agree with this fucking discussion.
who's getting hurt in this whole
Like, that was
thing?
really
Is
offensive.
it the Bud Light,
Anheuser-Busch.
brass? Will their bonuses be affected? Will their checks and salaries be affected? Got this lower level person fired, and a bunch of middle class guys are paying the price because you got distribution centers, the guys that deliver the beer nobody want, and now they're out of a job. Now you're really attacking the middle class by making a brand that's so big take a hit like that.
It says here, the quickest destruction of a company in history. Bud Light sponsors Toronto Pride Parade.
So, it's
When was this?
Wow,
That was
these
just
guys.
the other day.
So what if
Oh,
Bud
that's so
Light
silly.
sponsors Pride
They're
Parade? What
leaning
is
into
up
it.
with
Like,
these
why would
the gays
assholes,
are mad at
man?
them.
Joe Rogan, Ice
The
Cube, a
Pride
bunch
people are
of
mad at
fucking
them because they
assholes.
didn't support
Fuck you
Dylan
guys.
Mulvaney, so they
Jesus
like
Christ.
kicked it
you
out of
don't
gay
win.
bars.
You don't win. Either way at the end of the day.
Holy
but,
shit.
If
If they saw one more
think about
fucking
the
discriminatory
companies
thing, I'm
that
turning
own
it
these
off now.
companies, the people
Can't
that
do
own
this.
these companies,
Bunch of
why would they
assholes.
let a decision like that take the company down?
I don't think they thought it was going to. I think this is a legitimate public outrage one, where they just pushed too far and people went, fuck you. And it wasn't even like a real promotion. It was a thing they sent a can to this person, this Dylan Mulvaney person. But I don't think it went anywhere else. I think it was just like, here, this is for you, and you put it on social media.
Oh,
and
they
it's
were
a kind of a
just-
partnering deal, and that was it.
So why
They
Target
called
do
someone
the same
mentally ill.
Well, I think that's an ESG thing. That's an ESG thing, right? And Target.
Yeah,
lost
there's no
billions of dollars
subtitles
because
for this
people are sick of
episode.
this shit. They're sick of social things like that are controversial getting stuffed into your face, where you have to accept it.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't want to accept it. It's just like, I'm just coming here for fucking toilet paper.
Yeah, I think, people got to keep it in perspective as well, too. I don't think people grab a beer to be to learn about the newest social event or the social situation going on.
Right.
Grab a beer because you want a beer. hang
Oh
with
yeah,
your
he's
buddies,
totally
hang,
sold out.
Yeah.
with people that enjoy
100%.
beer and y'all shoot the shit, and politics really shouldn't be in
100%.
somebody's beer mug,
They just don't get it. They think it has to be in everything. Everybody.
And he said
because of
some really
social media,
suspect
everybody
things
feels like
on
they're
here.
Fighting some sort of social battle with everything they do. And
Yeah.
and this is one. This is another one.
He
It's
said
like-
some
it's like
things on here
forced
that really gave him
compliance.
away
You're
as
forced to
being
comply
bought
with
out.
this. And it's
100%.
fucking up women's sports in a huge way.
I can't remember
In a
though.
huge way. And some organizations are pushing back against that.
It's gonna happen on stream.
Some people are pushing back against the organizations that are pushing back against it, which to me is insane. Like, if you care at all about biological women, you should be against that.
I mean, what if, like, LeBron said he wanted to play in the WNBA?
Oh, hey, Mom.
I'm retiring from the NBA because I'm 49 and I'm going to play in the WNBA.
Well, they wouldn't be able to stop it if he just decided to say publicly, I identify as a woman. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. And then that would be the end. That would be Dave Chappelle's bit about it.
Yeah. LeBron scores 100 again tonight.
Well, there was some fucking knucklehead that was getting an interview. They said, if Mike Tyson identified as a woman, should he be able to fight women? And they were like, well, the short answer is yes.
Lord.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so, and there's also different specifications. It's like what you have to do and how long you have to take hormones before you can identify as a woman and compete as a woman. Like, just fucking stop.
I mean, who's going to check all that?
Yeah. There's a reason why there's women's sports. And there's a
Yes.
reason why there's men's sports. And you're not talking about who you are, or what
I'm
your
gonna have to
truth
change
is.
this
Live your
podcast, my
truth.
friends.
I mean, Title IX just got, just turned, what, 30 or
Yeah.
something like that, you know what I mean? So
Protecting women's sports. Yeah.
yeah, which is great because it forces
Yeah, that I agree with.
schools and they make a lot of money, teaching whatever they teach in them schools, and they should carve out some for women to be able to play for their school. That's great, and so I don't understand. Sometimes things don't make crazy man sense, and when they don't make crazy man sense, I just back out. Just stop thinking about it.
Yeah, it's probably a good move because you're not going to solve it. I mean, I think ultimately it gets solved where people just don't accept it anymore. And then hopefully it'll go, I mean, maybe they could just develop a trans
Come on, man.
where trans people play against
Yeah.
trans people. That would be great.
Why not?
But you can't pretend that you're a biological female just because you wish you were. You can't pretend when it comes to women's sports. You can't pretend when it comes to women's rights issues. It's like that's not. You don't want men dominating that because that's what it is. It's men entering to women's spaces,
Yeah,
and whether they're
ultimately.
they identify
We're
as
gonna
women,
back
that's
switch
great,
there.
but physically you're a biological male.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that
You
strat. I'm
wanna
doing
compete
2.x
against
strat.
them. You want to play rugby against women? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. That's crazy.
They want to dominate.
There's a lot of that.
They want to dominate.
They want to be winners.
Yeah.
Yeah. If all of a sudden you can be a woman and a winner and just fucking kick everybody's ass.
Yeah. You know how you used to play the kids in basketball at 8? Shaq out there. He just Shaq.
Yeah.
He's like,
It's the ultimate sandbagging. You know? It's like, you have a giant advantage. Like, the one that drove me the craziest was the MMA fighter.
yeah.
Because that person became a woman for 2 years and then started competing as women. And not telling them and saying that it was a medical issue. I don't have to disclose a medical condition. Like, no. That's not what that is. Like, if that person said that they were a woman and competed against women, that's deception. That's a fucking lie. But if you said you're a biological male and the women still want to fight you, okay, all good.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's like a slippery slope.
Yeah.
That really starts to get bizarre after a while, because
What? Come on.
where does it actually end at the end of the day?
Yeah.
What if somebody say, I don't identify as black. I want to be another color.
Yeah.
Purple. I'm purple. But you laughing at me?
You can get purple.
You laughing at me? Cancel your ass. You laughing at me because I'm purple?
Yeah.
That's basically.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well. I'm a chicken dinner. I'm macaroni and cheese. I'm rice. I'm the rolls.
Yeah.
I'm a chicken dinner, man.
Yeah.
I identify.
Just people identify as younger people. It's just like it is a slippery slope.
Yeah, because people can, people always can be extreme with stuff like that.
They're extreme, and they keep pushing boundaries, and they're pushing boundaries on age of consent now, which is crazy. You know, there's people that are also pushing back against
Please.
calling people pedophiles.
Nah.
Saying you should call
Oh,
them
come
minor
on.
attracted.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to take
Come
this
on.
photo, though.
It's
They're going to
insane.
boost me
You're
too
getting
far.
Academics that are saying this.
Come on.
It's
This-
insane.
That
Yeah, it
weird
is.
stuck, so
It's,
it's
you
not
know,
that fast. I went too
it's
far for the second
Borderline
cam.
madness.
We're still
So
pretty good
we're
run.
almost there.
Yeah, well, it's the end of an empire.
Yes.
And you know, there's this guy Douglas Murray, who's this English, British intellectual, and he said that every
was
time
blessed,
a
man.
civilization is close to collapsing, they become obsessed with gender. It happened with the ancient Greeks, the Romans. It's just like some weird thing that happens when everything is just going too good and life is too easy. People get obsessed with the weirdest things, and now we're obsessed with gender.
Wow.
It's the beginning of the end.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll bounce back. You know, get a good president in there. You know, turn it around.
Yeah.
Joe keeps saying that even though Murray backed away from
You
it.
don't think
I don't put a lot.
I don't know
on
what
the
I don't know what
president.
Murray is. Sorry,
I
man.
don't put a lot on the president.
Sorry, dude.
Well,
for sure.
I missed that
I
one.
wonder what would happen if Robert Kennedy Jr. got in there. Very interested to see what happens with that guy.
Yeah, you know he's
Can you give me the TLDR?
you know he seemed like a guy who at least is down to deep dive
Yeah.
and talk real and you know really try to dissect what's really going on instead of just going with the herd, which would be easy for him to do, like go
Yeah.
with the herd. You know, he may be, you know, even ahead more, or he may even be doing better. You know, when they poll,
One of Joe's views.
maybe like 20%.
Yes,
of
right
people.
before they collapsed.
Yeah, he probably
gender.
do.
Oh no way.
Maybe doing better, and
Jeez.
you know, instead of, you know, maybe he'll be one
I
of
don't
they
know.
one of their guys.
I have no
And
knowledge.
so by him
Opinion
going
on
this
that. We should
route,
not discriminate against anybody.
it's, seems like he's on a more noble route, and we just check him out and see how he navigates some of this stuff.
But he's definitely on a more noble route, and it's definitely not something he planned to do initially. I mean, he was an environmental attorney.
Yeah.
He was the guy that cleaned up the Hudson River. He would go after these corporations
Come
that were
on.
dumping toxic waste. That was his thing. It was like mercury in the water, and you know, trying to hold the corporations accountable. And then these women started showing up every time he would give these speeches, and they said, "We want you to look into mercury in vaccines."
Yeah.
And so this is 18 years ago. And so
Yeah.
for 18 years, this guy's been saying all this stuff about environmental concerns. And that was what his whole thing was. And then it wasn't until COVID came along. And then he wrote that book, The Real Anthony Fauci, detailing, you know, what it is that these people are actually doing and how they are engineering these viruses.
Douglas
They
Murray.
give grants, and it's
Yeah.
dangerous gain-of-function research.
Oh,
And
this game.
one medication that you have to take, and everybody gets on board with it, and they're making fucking billions of dollars.
Yes.
And
Man,
no one's
that really
talking about
pissed
what he's
me off.
saying. And he's saying it in a well-informed way, and he's expressing it to people like this is the playbook they always use, and they just used it on everybody.
Look, he's dealing with the same people we probably all are dealing with, and it's really time for us to really come up with a plan on how we're gonna deal with this, because it's just gonna continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's just gonna continue to happen. You know, I don't have all the answers, but I think we need to collectively.
It's okay, my
start
friends,
to,
because we're
not just give
We're gonna get it.
to people.
I think, I hope.
Things like this. And, you know, we've got major outlets that's not delivering the right message to the people. Not delivering the right message. Basically steering them the way that, you know, these super rich people want us to go. And it's not cool.
No, it's not. And I'm hoping people wake up enough to at least slow it down. Because
Yeah.
people are pushing in a very obvious and very specific direction. They want digital currency, centralized digital currency that they control. And they want to get everybody on a social credit score system. They're probably connected to some sort of a vaccine app. or if you want to travel around, all they would need is another pandemic to try to push that shit through. And they're already talking about that. It's very spooky. Because when you look into the history of this lab and them funding it and this getting out and the way they responded to it, the whole thing is so scary because it was effective. It was effective and very, very financially effective. I mean, they made a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And if they could do something similar again and then clamp down more on people, that's what scares me. This talk of centralized digital currency, that's what they have in China. If you fuck up in China and you get a bad social credit score because you tweeted something they didn't like, now you can't buy a plane ticket. Now you can't buy a car. Now you can't get a loan. Now you can't do something. You step the fucking line and people self-censor because they don't want to be a part of that. Now they got you.
Yep, they got you. Once you self-censor,
Yeah.
got you where they want you.
Yeah, we know that they were involved in Twitter. We know that the government was involved in silencing different voices. You know, they stopped that Hunter Biden laptop story from getting out before the election. It's so obviously dirty shit.
I did a record called Everything's Corrupt. And it is. When we look around,
Yeah.
man, it's like, where is the people that's doing the right thing?
Yeah.
You know, where they at?
Have you thought about doing anything with politics?
No, I would never. I would never do nothing with politics. Like,
Does anybody try to pressure you?
what you mean?
Like,
As-
Cube, you should run for mayor.
Tell them I'm already the mayor. You know, it's like only thing I would do. I said, king me. You know, just only thing I would accept
They
is
turn you into a king?
turn me into a king.
Scam.
President and then politician, begging ass politician, powerless puppet. Oh no, oh no, oh no. You know, I talked to one guy who actually spends the money that the government allocates. So, you know, that Congress say this industry is going to get this many billions. It's up to him to say where that money goes. And I'm like, well, how often do you talk to people at Congress? He said, never. Said, they can't even get me on the phone. I'm like, what? It's like, he said, these people can't even get me on the phone, man. I don't listen to them. You know what I mean? I just tell them where the money got to go.
Wow. So he gets to decide?
You know, he's part of the government that, you know, when they allocate the money, it goes to these different agencies and departments, and then they allocate where it goes. They can't spend any of it, so they can't take it, but they can spend it.
And then they can develop relationships with the people that give them money.
Yeah, so you know,
Come on.
people in Congress.
I hate this game.
To me, actually,
I hate this game.
powerless. They're just theater. At the end of
Well, they're theater who also gets the inside trade.
the day. Yeah,
That's the beautiful thing.
exactly. I mean, they know where that money's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They might not be able to touch it, but they can be on the other end and make sure
Yeah.
they, you know, their investments are carved out and make a pretty penny off of it.
Well, not only that, they do it openly in front of everybody. It's not illegal. And every
No.
time people call to ban it, they were like Nancy Pelosi's like, what? No, we're not going to do that. How would we do that?
Yeah.
Ladies,
exactly.
No, it was so fast. It was so fast.
She's better
Guys.
at stock trading than Warren Buffett and
What?
George Soros.
Yeah. Why
Okay,
wouldn't
no, it
she?
wasn't.
She know where all the body. I mean, she know where everything is gonna hit.
It's
She
crazy.
know what's gonna hit, when it's gonna hit,
Yeah.
and how much it's gonna hit for.
And unless that's illegal, fuck you. Like, fuck your whole system.
Exactly, because you know, it's easy to corrupt these people. You know what I mean? It's all money.
Did you ever think you would have to think about it so much, though? Like, I didn't think about this so much like 10, 15 years ago.
Well, I always had my kind of, you know, ever since, you know, people like Tipper Gore come after you,
Oh, yeah.
you pay attention to where the shots are being fired, you know, so. Before then, just a little, you know, I was sitting in my pops would look at the news and yell at the screen. You know what I mean? That's how I know what was bullshit and what was real. You know, and then, you know, I started doing my thing, and then like the law, the FBI, you know, these agencies started to come down on us. Really scared the shit out the record company, because we could care less. Like, we was like, the day we got the FBI letter.
What was the FBI letter?
We got an FBI letter. They sent the letter to Priority Records saying, one guy was like, I'm, you know, part of this department of the FBI, and we're very concerned with this record called Straight Outta Compton. You guys got a song on there called Fuck the Police, and you think this song could encourage, you know, people to go against law enforcement and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. And basically, you know, we'd like it if you guys took it off the shelf, you know what I'm saying, to that tip. So, you know, they call us up there, you know, they panicking. We don't know why they want us to come. They just, you gotta come here, you gotta talk to me. Get up there and it's like, pull out this letter, FBI. It's like, man, do you know what this is? It's fucking agent. He
Like,
sent me
come
this letter
on.
and, you know, he
Like,
was
it's so
all, like,
dumb.
nervous and shit. And we're looking like, a letter? That's all you get? They're not gonna come in here and try to fuck with us? Like, they're not gonna, you know what I mean, arrest us, cuff us, rough us up, none of that? And we're like, y'all scared over a fucking letter? Come back to South Central with us, you know what I mean? Deal with the sheriffs down there, you know what I mean? They do way more than give you a letter. So we felt that it was like, you know, Easy was like, we're gonna be big as fuck after this. You know what I'm saying? And so, but the guys at the record
Jeez.
company,
Like,
this
I
is the
hate
first
this.
time they ever
Like,
dealt
why?
with, like, pushback.
Oh.
First time the government probably
Just
even knew
sucks.
they existed. So they were freaked out, and we were like, okay, we was looking for them to raid our houses and shit, like, damn, because we done seen the battle ram, we done seen them run up in people's houses on dope charges, whatever, you know, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, that's like they got a kick out of just running up in people's houses and shit. So we were like looking for that to come for in the next few weeks. We was looking like, oh, they about to hit us. And it never happened. So we was like, what's the issue? What's the problem? Why
So it was
everybody
just
so
that
scared?
letter and that was it?
It's just that letter. And then we made the letter public, and they kind of just backed off and shit. And then it became this big story of, you know, the FBI hates this group. And I think we was on the cover of, like, one of those, you know, New York magazines, and it was like, the FBI
Oh my
hates
God.
this group.
Guys, I think I'm gonna use the PP7 as the
FBI
ending.
hates this man.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Easy was right.
Yeah, he was. That's the letter.
Wow. Look at that. A song recorded by the rap group NWA on their album entitled Straight Outta Compton encourages violence and disrespect for law enforcement officers and has been brought to my attention. I understand your company recorded and distributed this album, and I am writing to share my thoughts and concerns with you. Advocating violence and assault is wrong, and we in the law enforcement community take the exception to such action. Violent crimes, a major problem in our country, reached an unprecedented high in 1988. 78 law enforcement officers were feloniously slain in the feloniously slain in the line of duty during 1988. 4 more in 1987. Law enforcement officers dedicate their lives to protection of our citizens, and recordings such as the one from NWA are both discouraging and degrading to these brave, dedicated officers. Music plays a significant
I don't know.
role in
Maybe the
society,
KF7 is
and
still
I want
better.
you to be aware of the FBI's position
I think it
relative to
is.
this
I
song
think it's
and
just
its
faster.
message. I believe my reviews reflect the opinion of the entire law enforcement community. Huh.
Yeah.
Never met this dude?
Nah.
Interesting. 1988, it's a different world. And that was the first. That was like the first moment of that where we had heard that like the government and politicians were concerned about rap music.
Without a doubt. And then it just, they didn't come after me, but all these other different agencies were starting to hit us up, and they started going after Ice-T, a little bit, because Body Count did a song called Cop Killer, and it was a time when we grew up real fast. We had to understand that this is bigger than hip hop, and we gotta stand up for what we know is true and right. It's like we're not making shit up, It's go down, I've seen guys tell cops, take off that gun, take off that badge, and we can knuckle it up in the streets and do it like men. And so, we knew that sentiment was out there.
I wonder if I can do the double quick pause at the start. I wonder.
If you're gonna act like a thug, let's thug it out. Or you're gonna act like an officer, and we'll respect your authority. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of cops that we respected that came through, and they would treat us
That
like
was a double quick pause.
real humans. Not like
I
suspects.
hit it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You don't want nobody come through just treating you like a suspect. You ain't out here doing nothing. These dudes.
1, 2,
so we knew
3,
some dudes that would come through and talk to
1,
us, tell
2,
us,
3.
y'all need to watch
4
out, be
times.
careful. You know what I'm saying? And,
4
do
times.
anybody know something that happened around the corner and all these little stuff? And we like, nah. But they was respectful, and we respected their authority.
What? Why?
And there was others that would come through, look at you crazy, harass
4
you.
times.